Joining me now is the First Lady and wife to Vice Presidential Democratic nominee, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Ms. Walz, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yes. Gwen, you are campaigning in La Crosse, Stevens Point, and Milwaukee on Monday with your husband. What has been the campaign's focus with the presidential election now just one day away?
Well, I think we are coming back through and seeing our neighbors. I was in Wisconsin yesterday too, and have been there 8 or more times in this cycle. And so Tim and I are anxious to campaign together and to just check in with all of our friends and neighbors in Wisconsin. We are so grateful for all the work and so thankful for everybody's effort and the amazing get out the vote and early voting efforts. And it's just a good place to be tomorrow, the day before actual election day in Wisconsin. Where else would you rather be?
And I want to stay on that topic about the Get Out the Vote tour that Vice President Harris has focused on in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and some of those other key battlegrounds. Is the campaign making its case to win over those still undecided and other critical groups of voters that will be decisive in this election?
Oh, I think so. Our message is very clear. This is a campaign for everyone and all people. And Donald Trump and J.D. Vance are not putting forth policies nor inclusive of everyone and all of us. You know, the tax cuts for the middle class are very different from what Trump and Vance are talking about with just, the very elite tax cuts. We are talking about opportunities for middle class families and housing opportunities and business opportunities and generational wealth opportunities. And I think the idea of being able to do politics in a way that is inclusive, that is respectful, but not everybody gets all their own way all the time. We have to work together and compromise. I think that's appealing to the sensibilities of people in Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania for sure, all 3 states I was in yesterday. And that's what I hear out on the trails. So I think our closing message in our entire campaign has been illustrating that and listening and talking to voters and asking people to use their voice to decide the kind of country that they want to live in.
First Lady Walz, you and your husband have shared your own experience surrounding in vitro fertilization and reproductive rights. And I want to talk a little bit about how you think that issue is going to mobilize voters ahead of Tuesday.
Well, reproductive freedom is a huge issue, of course. And Tim and I just never shared our story before. But then when the Alabama Supreme Court decision came down, we knew that we needed to, in the positions that we were in, we needed to make our voice heard because the national abortion ban is just unacceptable. It puts women's lives at risk. And I know this about both Wisconsin and Minnesota. We have strong, independent, free-thinking women who are smart. And we can make our own decisions about our own bodies and our own lives and our own families. And those are decisions that we make ourselves or with our partners and our other family members. And so it became crucial for us to speak out. And I have been talking about that in every single stop I've made, since the middle of August. And I think that resonates with women because if you don't have autonomy over your own choices in your own body, then very little else are you going to have choices in. And so Tim and Kamala have made it very clear they trust women. And J.D. Vance and Donald Trump have made it very clear that they don't. And I know Wisconsin women, just like Minnesota women, we do not take too kindly to things like Donald Trump says about, being our protector. I'm not interested in Donald Trump being my protector. I'm interested in making my own choices and making my choices with my husband and with my family. And I think most people agree. If there's not any other issue that you are that concerned about, or if you're on the fence, I think respecting women and trusting women, that's where you have to vote. And that's where smart men are voting, right? And people who support women and women, of course.
And Gwen, final question, just to take a step away from politics. Over the past week, Democratic governors dressed up as your husband, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, for Halloween. Can I get your reaction on some of those costumes?
I want to say I love those governors, and governors get stuff done. And Wisconsin, Governor Evers and the First Lady Kathy Evers, no better people and no better governor in the entire country. And Michigan has a fabulous governor, and Pennsylvania, fabulous governor. And I know their spouses also just, amazing people. And so imitation is the highest form of flattery. And those governors are both funny, witty, and they get stuff done. Who else would you want to have Halloween with than the Democratic governors? I so appreciate each one of them, and I thought it was so clever, smart, and funny.
Wife to the vice presidential nominee and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Gwen Walz, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Let's go, Wisconsin.